My name is Mia. I'm 32 years old, and for months now, there's been this gnawing ache inside me, a secret I can't shake, no matter how much I try to push it down. I left him. I walked away from the man I thought I'd spend my life with. Then I got pregnant. Now I'm broke. And somehow I found myself asking for another chance because he's doing well now. That's the truth. And it's messy. When we were together, things felt safe, even thrilling in a quiet way. Our love wasn't the kind that screamed or blazed. It was steady, warm, like the way his hand would find mine across the dinner table without us saying a word. Or how his breath would tickle my neck during lazy Sunday mornings when we'd curl up on the couch, his fingers tracing slow, familiar patterns on my skin. Those moments, simple and sacred, felt like the world was ours. But something shifted, subtle at first. His kisses started to feel distracted, like a habit without meaning. Sometimes, when we cuddled, the warmth faded too quickly, replaced by a strange distance I couldn't name. I remember one night he hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe, but there was no tenderness in it, only an urgent grip that left me feeling more trapped than loved. The tension under his touch whispered that something was wrong, though neither of us dared speak it aloud. The first time I realized it wasn't just a phase, but a fracture in us, was during a quiet evening in our apartment. We were lying in bed, the room dim with the soft glow of city lights filtering through the curtains. I reached out, expecting the familiar comfort of his hand, but he turned away. His back was to me, the space between us cold and wide. In that moment, I felt like I was already losing myself, and maybe him too. His name was Daniel, a firefighter, the kind of man who carried the weight of other people's emergencies on his shoulders and still managed to come home every night with a smile. I admired that about him. I still do. But his way of showing love was all action, all physical. When words failed, he touched me, a hand on my back, a squeeze of my waist, a kiss that said, "I'm here." But what I needed was different. I needed him to see me first. One evening, after a long shift, Daniel came home tired and restless. I was sitting on the couch, the silence between us already thick, and when he sat down beside me, he immediately reached out to pull me close. His hands were firm, confident, but I felt like I was shrinking under his touch. Not because he was rough, but because his embrace felt like a bandage over something deeper, something I couldn't name out loud. "I missed you," he said softly, his voice heavy with exhaustion. His fingers found my hair, stroking it in that way he thought I liked. But I didn't say, "I feel invisible." I didn't say, "I'm lonely in here even when you're near." Instead, I just nodded, letting him hold me, feeling a strange mix of comfort and emptiness. His touch was supposed to heal the space between us, but it only made it clearer that what I craved wasn't skin on skin, it was connection. Words. Understanding. He didn't know how to give that. And I was scared to tell him, afraid it would sound like a criticism, like I was rejecting him. So the silence stayed, loud and unforgiving, as we sat together but miles apart. One night, Daniel came up behind me while I was washing dishes, his hands sliding around my waist like he always did. He pressed a kiss to my neck, soft, familiar, but instead of the warmth I wanted to feel, a cold flicker ran through me. I stiffened just enough for him to notice. "Hey, what's wrong?" he asked, voice low and gentle. I forced a smile, turning to face him. "Nothing. Just tired." He gave a tired chuckle and, with that boyish grin he still had, smacked my butt lightly as if to say, "You're mine." But I felt nothing. No spark. No thrill. Just an awkward pause that stretched too long. Later, when he leaned in for a kiss, I kissed him back, but my mind spiraled, overthinking every second, every brush of his lips. It was like my body was on autopilot, going through the motions while my heart stayed locked away. I wanted to want it. I really did, but it felt hollow, like trying to catch smoke with my hands. When he pulled back, hopeful, I avoided his eyes. Why does everything have to turn into sex? I thought bitterly. Why can't we just be close without all this pressure? We were sitting across from each other at the tiny kitchen table, the dinner I made barely touched. Daniel was talking about his day, the new rescue call, the stress at the station, but his voice felt like background noise to the storm building inside me. I wanted to reach out to say something real, but the words caught in my throat. Then, out of nowhere, the frustration exploded. I can't do this anymore. I blurted, my voice shaking. I feel like I'm drowning. Daniel, you're here, but you're not really here. You touch me like I'm just something to hold on to, but I'm so damn lonely. His fork froze midair. Silence fell between us heavier than any words. His eyes were wide, searching mine, confused and maybe a little hurt. I'm trying, he said softly, but it felt like too little, too late. Tears slipped down my cheeks before I could stop them. I left you, I whispered, the shame washing over me. I left because I thought it was better than this. But now, with this baby, with no money, I'm the one begging for another chance. And it feels like we don't even know how to be. He reached across the table, but I pulled back, trembling. I wanted comfort, but I was too raw, too afraid of breaking completely. Afterward, alone in the quiet of our room, guilt settled in like a weight crushing my chest. Was I too harsh? Was I just selfish for wanting more? But the truth I couldn't deny was this. I was broken, and so was what we had. And I didn't know how to fix either. Days slipped by like shadows, stretching longer and longer. The space between Daniel and me grew colder, like winter settling in a house that once felt warm. We barely talked anymore. When we did, it was clipped, polite, like strangers sharing a room rather than two people who once promised forever. I watched him from across the room sometimes. There was a heaviness in his shoulders I'd never noticed before, a quiet sadness that wasn't just about me. He wasn't angry. He was hurting, too. The firefighter who faced flames and fear every day carried his own battles home, but instead of sharing them, he shut down. One evening, he sat at the edge of the bed, staring at nothing, lost inside himself. I wanted to reach out, to break through the silence, but I was scared. Scared that if I tried, I'd only push him away more, or that I'd finally admit how much I missed him and how broken we'd become. The guilt gnawed at me. I thought leaving was the right choice, but now, pregnant and alone, I wasn't sure what was right anymore. I missed the way he used to look at me, the way his hand felt in mine when the world was quiet. I longed for that again, but did I even know how to get there? Did he? I stood at the crossroads inside myself, the weight of everything pressing down. Could we find our way back? Or was it time to finally walk away for good? One chilly evening, after weeks of quiet walls between us, Daniel finally broke the silence. We sat on the worn-out couch, the soft hum of the city outside our window filling the spaces we hadn't dared to speak in. I don't want to lose you, he said quietly, his voice raw but steady. I know I haven't been good at showing it. Not the way you need. I looked at him, really looked at him, the man who was tired, scared, and trying, even if imperfectly. For the first time in a long while, I felt something fragile begin to bloom inside me. We both have to try, I whispered back. I need you to see me, not just touch me, and I need to feel safe enough to say that without us falling apart. He nodded, then pulled me into a slow, tentative hug. No demands, no expectations, just two people holding on to a thread of hope. His hand rested gently on my back, steady and sure. It wasn't the fiery passion of before, but it was real. It was a beginning. Later, I found him asleep on the couch, the soft rise and fall of his chest steady and peaceful. I touched his forehead with a kiss, a silent promise that maybe we could heal, even if it would take time. And maybe, for now, that was enough. If you'd asked me a year ago where I thought I'd be now, I wouldn't have imagined this, sitting here, still uncertain, still broken in some ways, but holding on. Love isn't always the grand, sweeping thing you see in movies. Sometimes it's quiet, messy. It's about showing up even when you're scared, even when you're tired. I left because I thought it was the only way to save myself. I got pregnant, I struggled, I felt alone in ways I never expected. And now here I am, trying again not because everything is perfect, but because sometimes the heart knows more than the fear. I don't have all the answers. Maybe we'll heal. Maybe we won't. But I do know this. Love, real love, is never just about the good times. It's about the cracks, the wounds, and the willingness to be seen, truly seen, through it all. That's what I'm holding on to. And maybe that's enough. You know, looking back on all of it, the leaving, the silence, the fighting, and the quiet moments, I realize how complicated love really is. It's not just about feeling butterflies or stolen kisses. Sometimes it's about feeling lost inside yourself, even when someone's right beside you. I thought walking away would save me, but it didn't. And now, with everything that's happened, I'm learning that maybe saving a relationship isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up, even when it hurts. It's about wanting to be seen, really seen, and having the courage to see someone else in return. I don't know where we'll end up. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other, or maybe we won't. But I do know this, no matter what, I'm learning to be honest with myself about what I need, what I want, and what I'm willing to fight for. And if there's one thing I hope you take from my story, it's this. Sometimes the hardest part isn't leaving or staying. It's just learning to feel, deeply and without apology. 5.